YouTube Isaac going the Goat House is back with our MVP ladder. We'll do this every single week. Basically, top 5 rankings for offensive MVP, defensive MVP, and offensive and defensive rookie of the year. And we go over all the Goat House guys' player of the previous week. So player for week 6. And we got your guys. You guys voted for the player of week 6 as well. Right before we show all that. So we got extra content available on our Patreon. You can get junior score predictions. You can get playoff predictions, updated mock drafts, all that updated every single week, and there's plenty more there. So check it out. Link towards the top of the description, patreon.com/thegoathouse. And then 40K is our sub goal. Please help us out by subscribing. Full NFL content all year long. Click that like button. Check us out on Twitter. Let's start with our players of the week. So mine was James Bradberry, the cornerback of the Panthers. And there was a lot to choose from for player of the week, and it seemed like it was from like the same teams for the most part, the Panthers, the Niners, the Vikings, those players. And a lot from the Panthers was my point there. And James Bradberry gets my vote. The cornerback. He was, anything you ask from a cornerback, he did in that game. He was racking up the tackles. He was flying around the field. He got his hands in the ball. He was a playmaker out there, and I like how he's becoming something. He can become, the way he's playing, he can become a lockdown corner. Hasn't been a big-time corner yet, has his struggles early, in his early career, but he's really getting going this year. Very impressive. Picks him with the Lambeau refs, Clete Blakeman and the boys. So that's what he went with. That's a pretty good pick. Pretty good pick there. And then two Vikings from Danny and Jr., Kirk Cousins and Stephon Diggs, both having breakout games. My other choice, if I had to choose an offense, it would have been Kirk Cousins. A lot of you voted for Diggs, and then that's the bottom one is what you guys voted for, Deshaun Watson, and the battle ended up being between Watson and Diggs. And good to see Diggs with the breakout game, but I didn't really consider Diggs because he did have a big game, a good game overall. He did have some crucial drops. I thought Kirk Cousins was fantastic, man. You look at the throws, that's the obvious part, but the way he was moving in and out of the pocket was surprising, and it was really good. So that's why I thought Cousins maybe was the best player from that game. But I was looking at these Panthers. I was looking at James Bradberry, Gerald McCoy, Vernon Butler, and then I talk about the Vikings, and you look at the Niners. I like Jimmy Ward. D Ford was pretty dominant, and then look at the Jets defenders too. I like Jamal Adams a lot from last week, and there, like I said, there was some good offense players. You guys picked Deshaun Watson, was clutch in that game, was big time. I thought he had a better game this year than that game, but still, he beat the Chiefs. He really was on his game, was dominant. So that was your guys' vote. We'll see who everybody picks next week. But on to the MVP ladder. We're going to update it every week. And so for the offense MVP, I bumped up Russell Wilson to the top. And, it's kind of the build-up. A lot of people had him as number 1 last week. I thought they were jumping the gun a little early, kind of basing too much off of, the Rams game. And he's had other good games, but it's nothing that we're not used to. And the Rams game was a step up, some ridiculous throws, some big plays, and then kind of did it again this week, with some clutch moments and just going out and winning and using his legs too, and, just throwing the other team off. So I bumped up Russell Wilson in a tight battle here. Christian McCaffrey stays at 2. The 2 running backs in this list, if you go look at the stats, from the week, this past week, they didn't do a whole bunch, but, their presence, I think, does a whole bunch. They really opens up other things. And McCaffrey had some big plays, too. There's really no reason to move him down. Patrick Mahomes, just Russell Wilson moving up, and McCaffrey, not being able to move him down. So he goes to 3. Didn't play his best game, but I still think overall Patrick Mahomes is the best player in football, but right now this is the way the ladder's going. Then Watson got bumped up to 4 here, and Dalvin Cook remains in, but down to 5. He didn't have the best day running. He had a couple good moments, but you can see the impact that he makes. The play action, and it really threw off the Eagles game because they thought for sure most of those times they were running it to Dalvin Cook. And then you see the difference from last year to this year with the Vikings offense, going from the worst rushing offense to one of the best. And that's the presence of Dalvin Cook this year and the changes to the offensive line. So that is my top 5. I didn't really consider anybody else. We had Michael Thomas in here last week, and I still consider him, but these were the clear-cut 5 for this week. Defense is tough. There's a bunch of defenders, and that's my rankings. And I expect this to shift around big time because there's a bunch of defenders that you can argue. Shaquille Barrett, I still have to have at the top, even though he didn't do much. Nothing really new, from Shaquille Barrett from last week, but He's done everything this year. And, he's been a presence. He's getting after the quarterback, whether it's sacks, pressures, QB hits, QB hurries. He's getting his hands on the ball, whether it's an interception or pass deflection. He's forcing fumbles. He's done everything this year, and up to this point, there's really no reason to move him down. We'll see if somebody can catch him. Moving up, I had at 5 last week, I believe. Up to 2 is Zadarius Smith of the Packers. This guy is, he's blowing me away. This is a talented pass rusher. We thought last year maybe, that was his first good year. And some people are like, maybe he's a one-hit wonder. Maybe changing the team's not the right thing to do. And some people are like, all right, maybe he's getting going. He's the real deal. He's getting going. And the reason, I like him so much, not only because he's able to get constant pressure, he has a good amount of sacks, but the pressure is kind of what goes unnoticed. The QB hits, QB hurries, that goes unnoticed. But yeah, I think the presence and where he can line up, he's more than just an edge rusher. We see him lining up on the D line, coming from the inside, off the ball. I love that. I guess I got a soft spot. You guys probably, if you've been with us for a while, I got a soft spot for guys that really, do that, move around different spots. Melvin Ingram, guys like that. And Zadarius Smith is becoming one of those guys. And Preston Smith was considered for the top 5. I know he has maybe better stats than Zadarius Smith, but Zadarius Smith has much more of an impact. But I do like Preston Smith a lot. And you just look at that free agency from the Green Bay Packers. And, wow. If they didn't pick up Zadarius Smith, I think he is the key. Not the defense would still be good, but I don't think it'd be anywhere near as where it is right now. I think he is the glue, the key to that defense. Khalil Mack to 3. I think is the best defensive player in football. I think Khalil Mack, then Aaron Donald in general. Mack can make his way back up, having a bye and having the two guys with what they've been doing, kind of just sneaks up above Mack. Nothing that he didn't do or did do. Gilmore still remains in. He's the best corner in football today, this year. That's what this ladder is about. The hardest position to play besides quarterback, in my opinion. He's been dominant. He's really getting he's really coming along. Like, he's learning this game. He's learning other quarterbacks. He's learning how to read the quarterback and the receiver. He's got everything to his game. And then a surprising one, maybe another Patriot, Jamie Collins. This guy's coming out of nowhere again. Another guy that you can move around using different spots, and we've seen him be this dominant when he's on the Patriots, and then when he's off the Patriots, he's a disappointment. He's a letdown. He goes back to the Patriots, and he's really good. So maybe it's the Patriots, but that cannot take away to what this guy's doing. He's doing everything you can ask. He's getting after the quarterback. He's got numbers almost as close to the other pass rushers I got up here. He's doing everything. He's getting his hands on the ball, forcing fumbles. It's just... and I liked him as a free agent too. I didn't think, what he showed on the field last, year or two. I knew he had more in the tank, and we're seeing it again. Maybe it's a little easier scheme on the Patriots, but he's well deserving of being up here. And then some other guys that it's hard to keep off. Kuechly I had up here last week, and he didn't really do anything to take him off. It's just these guys are just so dominant. And you look at the Panthers defense, it's not just Kuechly. Before we thought it was kind of Kuechly carrying it, but it's a number of guys that are kind of considered up here. But it's a number of guys working together to make that defense great, and that's a good thing overall. And then, there's a long list of defenders. Myles Garrett's racking up the sacks. I want to see him. It's not about the sacks, just about the sacks, I should say. He's very good. He was strongly considered. I want to see more. I talked about Preston Smith from the Packers. I talked about some of the guys like Danielle Hunter, playing a similar role as Zadarius Smith, in terms of how many pressures he's getting, and he's continuing to rack up the sacks, the Vikings' best pass rusher. And then Eric Kendricks is, balling too, one of the better linebackers in football right now. So long list of defenders. I'm probably forgetting some people, but this will move around throughout the year, and this is where I got it right now. Looking at Offensive Rookie of the Year, really no movement besides it's the same 5, but I have Terry McLaurin moving up to number 2. Well-deserved. He's balling out, what he's able to do. The speed, the route, the quickness, the routes, the separation, what kind of goes in the routes, catching the ball and just getting open in crucial times. Kind of carrying the load for that receiver unit, which is supposed to be the worst in football. Another big day. He rises up. Minshew and Murray is pretty darn close. There's a pretty good gap after the 4. I think there's a clear top 4. Then it's Marquise Brown. I would like to see... I liked what finally we got to see Darrell Henderson. His limited carries. I liked what I saw from him. I thought maybe before the year he'd be up here, but he's been getting little to no carries. I think if he got enough carries, he could be up there. Same with David Montgomery. Maybe we can get him going. Alexander Madison's looked pretty good. Miles Sanders, really good catching the ball. So some of those running backs are looking really good. And then some of them, like Montgomery and Henderson, we want to see more of because we think they can be up here, and that's true. A.J. Brown, Titans receivers, another one that can sneak in here down the line. T.J. Hawkinson, now that he's healthy, I expect T.J. Hawkinson to make his way in here. I really do. But I think there's a clear-cut 4 right now for the offensive guys. And the defenders, there's a long list of guys you can go with. And no changes besides I swapped 4 and 5. Devin Bush with a huge game. Dexter Lawrence is kind of the under-the-radar guy. Quietly dominating, getting quarterback pressure and a good run stopper already. And then, it's tough to keep guys like, multiple guys. You look at the other pass rusher for the Panthers, Christian Miller. So they got their 2 pass rushers, and that's why I love the Panthers draft. I was raving about the Panthers draft, and I got ripped for that one for some reason. It's looking pretty good right now. And then Chase Winovich has had his good moments. And Charles Omenihu was strongly considered too. He's an absolute steal for the Texans in the 5th round. So I strongly considered those guys. Mainly Omenihu's probably number 6 right now. I strongly consider those guys. It's just tough to take these guys out because these guys are so dominant right now. And I don't have to hesitate to say Brian Burns is the best right now. Nick Bosa, the way he's been playing the recent weeks, it looks like maybe he can, take number 1 pretty soon. It's definitely very possible. Josh Allen is quietly racking up the pressures, the sacks. So, the defenders, you see it was a defensive class for a reason. And they're showing out right now because there's a long list of them. And I can't wait for next year's draft because it's finally an elite offensive draft class. So I'm excited for that. We have our updated mock drafts on the Patreon. So it's way too early to be excited for that, but I am. Of course, that's how this channel started, the draft. But we'll be back every single week with this, seeing what changes, who makes their way in here, who our players of the week are every week. So we know that will change. We also have recast power rankings on the channel. Straight up picks is on the channel with the boys, and score predictions still to come, and plenty more still to come here. So we got you covered. Please subscribe. Thanks everyone for watching this video. Goodbye.